Someone disrespects you and you feel it instantly. Your chest tightens, your jaw locks. Heat rises into your face. In a single second, your mind fills with sharp responses, clever insults, devastating comebacks. You imagine putting them in their place. You imagine the room going silent after your words land. You imagine restoring your status through force. And in that moment, you believe reacting quickly is strength. But this is the exact moment that separates power from impulse. Disrespect feels like a threat, not to your safety but to your identity. It challenges how others see you. It challenges how you see yourself. And because human beings are deeply wired for social standing, your nervous system reacts as if something vital is under attack. Your body prepares for combat. Your mind searches for retaliation. The surge feels righteous. It feels justified. Yet what you do next determines everything. Marcus Aurelius, who endured betrayal, public criticism, and political hostility, daily understood something most people never grasp. The insult itself does not define you. Your reaction does. He wrote that if someone despises you, that is their problem, but if you become angry, that becomes yours. In other words, the external event is neutral. The internal response is the true battleground. Most people fail at this first step. They react immediately. They allow the emotional spike to dictate their behavior. They raise their voice. They fire back. They try to wound in return. And for a brief second, it feels satisfying. The adrenaline gives the illusion of power, but satisfaction fades quickly, and what remains is damage. Damage to reputation, damage to relationships, damage to self-respect. Immediate reaction is rarely strength. It is exposure. It reveals that someone else can control your emotional state. It proves that your composure depends on their behavior. When you react without pause, you hand them authority over you. You allow their words to dictate your conduct. That is not power. That is surrender disguised as dominance. Epictetus taught that between stimulus and response lies your freedom. That small space, often just a few seconds long, is where your dignity lives. Most people collapse that space. They eliminate the pause. They let instinct speak before wisdom has a chance to arrive. But the Stoic understands that the pause is not weakness, it is control. When someone disrespects you, the first battle is internal. The question is not how do I win this exchange? The question is who do I choose to be right now? There is a profound difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. Reaction is emotional discharge. Response is disciplined intention. Reaction seeks to restore ego. Response protects character. Consider what truly serves you in that moment. If you explode, perhaps you momentarily feel dominant. But observers do not see dominance. They see volatility. They see someone whose behavior can be manipulated. On the other hand, when you remain composed, when your tone stays measured, when your posture remains steady, something powerful happens. The disrespectful person begins to look smaller. Their behavior becomes obvious. Your restraint highlights their lack of it. Control of timing is control of power. A simple discipline can change everything. When you feel the surge, breathe. Not theatrically, not dramatically, just deliberately. Slow the body so the mind can regain authority. Give your rational mind time to step forward. Ask yourself one crucial question: what response protects my dignity? Not what response feels satisfying. Not what response proves I am right. But what response preserves my standards? Your initial emotion is information, not instruction. Anger signals that a boundary may have been crossed. Hurt signals that something mattered to you. These emotions are valuable data, but they are not commands you must obey. You are not required to act simply because you feel. This is where most people lose. They confuse emotional intensity with strength. They believe that matching force with force proves courage. But true strength is the ability to remain steady when provoked. It is the ability to maintain your identity regardless of external behavior. When you pause instead of reacting, you send a message without saying a word. You communicate that your self-control is stronger than their attempt to destabilize you. You demonstrate that your character is not negotiable. In moments of disrespect, you are being tested, not by them but by yourself. You are being asked whether your composure depends on comfort or whether it is stable even under pressure. Anyone can remain calm when respected. The real measure of strength is calm under attack. The insult may last seconds. Your response will define how the moment is remembered. In the next part, we will examine the second mistake that quietly destroys your position when someone disrespects you trying to change their mind. Number 2. Never try to change their mind. The instinct to argue is powerful. When someone disrespects you, part of you wants to correct them, to explain yourself, to prove they are wrong. You want them to see your value. You want acknowledgement. You want an apology. It feels reasonable. It feels fair. But the moment you begin trying to change their mind, you quietly give away your position. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Someone who chooses to disrespect you is rarely operating from logic. They are operating from ego, insecurity, jealousy, frustration, or simple poor character. You cannot reason someone out of a position they did not reason themselves into. If their disrespect came from emotion or weakness, no amount of explanation will suddenly transform them into a fair and rational judge of your worth. When you begin defending yourself excessively, something subtle happens. You shift from standing in your value to negotiating it. You start presenting evidence. You list your accomplishments, you explain context, you justify your decisions. You hope they will say, "You're right, I misjudged you." But that hope places your dignity in their hands. The Stoics understood that your value does not increase or decrease based on another person's recognition of it. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and was still criticized daily. If he had tried to personally correct every negative opinion about him, he would have lost his entire life in endless argument. Instead, he focused on his conduct. He let his actions stand without chasing approval. When you argue to be respected, you signal that respect must be granted by the other person for you to feel secure. That is a dangerous position. It means your emotional stability depends on their validation. It means they control the outcome of your peace. Consider what happens in most arguments born from disrespect. The more you explain, the more they resist. The more you justify, the more they challenge. Not because your logic is weak, but because they are not trying to understand. They are trying to dominate, provoke, or assert superiority. By engaging deeply, you reward that behavior with attention and energy. There is also another cost. When you argue intensely to change someone's mind, observers begin to see desperation rather than strength. Calm confidence does not beg to be acknowledged. It simply exists. When you remain measured and refuse to chase approval, you project stability. When you plead your case emotionally, you project insecurity, even if your argument is correct. This does not mean you say nothing. It means you say less. State your position clearly once. "I disagree. That's not accurate. That's not how I see it." And then stop. No performance, no emotional persuasion, no endless debate. You are not trying to win them over. You are establishing your boundary and maintaining your standards. Epictetus reminded us that other people's opinions are not within our control. You control only your actions and judgments. The attempt to control their perception is a waste of energy. And worse, it pulls you into their frame. It makes their mindset the battlefield. When you stop trying to change their mind, something powerful happens. You detach. You become centered. You shift from defending your identity to embodying it. Their words lose momentum because they no longer trigger argument. Disrespect often feeds on reaction. Without reaction, it weakens. There is a difference between clarifying facts and chasing validation. Clarify if necessary, but never chase. Respect that must be forced is not respect. Approval that must be extracted is not approval. If someone refuses to see your value, let your composure speak louder than your defense. Over time, consistent behavior shapes perception far more than heated argument ever could. Trying to change their mind often makes you smaller. Refusing to chase it makes you stronger. In the next part, we will examine the mistake that destroys your advantage instantly and makes you look exactly like the person who disrespected you, matching their energy. Number 3, never match their energy. This is the trap almost everyone falls into. Someone raises their voice, so you raise yours. They become sarcastic, so you sharpen your tone. They go low, so you go lower. It feels natural. It feels justified. It feels like strength. But in reality, the moment you match their energy, you surrender your advantage. When you mirror their aggression, you validate it. You signal that their behavior has successfully pulled you into their emotional state. Instead of standing above the situation, you become part of the chaos. Observers can no longer distinguish who is composed and who is reckless. Both of you now look reactive. Both of you look controlled by emotion. The Stoics understood something most people miss: composure is power. Not loud power, not dramatic power, quiet power. The kind that makes contrast undeniable. When one person is loud and you remain calm, the difference is visible. When one person is disrespectful and you stay measured, the room notices. You do not need to point out their behavior. Your restraint exposes it for you. Seneca wrote that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Matching their energy makes you exactly like them. It proves that your emotional state can be dictated by their conduct. That is not strength, that is dependency. Disrespect often seeks escalation. Some people provoke intentionally. They want you to explode. They want to drag you into symmetrical escalation, where both parties increase intensity until the situation spirals. Once that happens, the original issue becomes irrelevant. The spectacle becomes the story. And in that spectacle, dignity disappears. There is a strategic advantage in contrast. If they are loud, lower your voice. If they are aggressive, slow your pace. If they are emotional, become factual. If they interrupt, wait calmly before speaking again. This forces them to stand alone in their behavior. It isolates their lack of control while highlighting your discipline. When someone expects confrontation and receives calm clarity instead, it destabilizes them. They lose the script they prepared for. Aggression requires fuel. Calmness denies it. This does not mean you tolerate disrespect silently. It means you respond without mirroring the tone. You can say, "I'm willing to discuss this respectfully," in a steady voice. You can say, "That tone isn't productive," without raising yours. You can assert boundaries without absorbing their emotional charge. The power of this approach is psychological. People instinctively respect emotional control. Even those who attempt to provoke you often feel a quiet shift when they realize you cannot be pulled into their storm. You demonstrate that your behavior is governed by principles, not impulses. Most individuals believe strength is intensity, but intensity without control is volatility. Real strength is measured in stability under pressure. When you remain composed, you protect your reputation. You preserve clarity. You keep the situation manageable. Matching their energy may feel satisfying in the moment. It releases tension. It creates a temporary illusion of dominance. But afterward, it leaves damage. Damage to relationships. Damage to credibility. Damage to your own self-respect. Composure, on the other hand, compounds. Each time you maintain control under pressure, you reinforce your own identity as someone who cannot be shaken easily. That identity becomes visible to others. The goal is not to overpower them. It is to remain yourself. When you refuse to match their energy, you keep the high ground without announcing it. And often that silent superiority speaks louder than any comeback ever could. In the next part, we will explore the fourth mistake that destroys relationships permanently, making the conflict about who they are instead of what they did. Number 4, never make it about who they are. The moment you shift from addressing behavior to attacking character, you lose control of the conflict. When someone disrespects you, the temptation to go personal is intense. You want to expose their flaws. You want to remind them of their past failures. You want to say, "You always do this," or "This is just who you are." It feels powerful. It feels like reclaiming dominance. But it is a strategic mistake. When you attack character, you escalate the situation beyond repair. Behavior can be corrected, a tone can be adjusted, a comment can be retracted, but identity cannot be negotiated in the heat of conflict. Once you attack who someone is, you trigger defense at the deepest level. Now they are not defending a comment. They are defending themselves. And once identity enters the battlefield, resolution becomes almost impossible. Consider the difference between saying, "That comment was inappropriate," and saying, "You're disrespectful." The first addresses an action. The second condemns a person. The first invites adjustment. The second invites retaliation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to separate events from judgments. The same principle applies here. Separate the behavior from the individual. If you blur that line, you transform a manageable moment into a permanent fracture. There is also a reputational cost. When you go personal, observers no longer focus on the original disrespect. They focus on your escalation. You might feel justified, but public perception rarely rewards personal attacks. It sees them as loss of control. It signals that under pressure you abandon restraint. Strong individuals do not need to assassinate character to make a point. They stay precise. They stay contained. They stay disciplined. If someone crosses a line, address the line. That tone isn't acceptable. That statement was inaccurate. Let's keep this professional, clear, direct, controlled. Then stop. Do not bring up old grievances. Do not unload stored frustrations. Do not compile a list of their past mistakes. That may feel like winning in the moment, but it poisons any future interaction. Bridges burned in anger are rarely rebuilt. The Stoic path is not about silence. It is about precision. Precision protects dignity. When you focus only on what happened, you keep the conflict narrow. Narrow conflicts can be resolved. Wide conflicts consume everything around them. There is another subtle advantage in avoiding personal attacks. It reinforces your internal stability. When you refuse to go low, you maintain alignment with your standards. You leave the interaction without regret. You do not replay your own words, wishing you had said less. Personal attacks create psychological residue. They linger. They disturb your own peace. By keeping the discussion about behavior rather than identity, you preserve the possibility of future cooperation. You protect your reputation, and you demonstrate maturity in the face of provocation. The issue is not who they are. The issue is what they did. Keep it there. In the final part, we will examine the fifth and most insidious mistake, the one that continues long after the conflict ends and can steal your peace for weeks if you allow it. Number 5. Never let it consume you. This is the mistake that happens in silence. No one sees it. No one hears it. But it can destroy your peace long after the original disrespect is over. The incident may have lasted 5 minutes, but if you replay it for 5 days, you have multiplied its power. They disrespected you once. You disrespect your own peace repeatedly. Rumination feels productive. It feels like analysis. It feels like preparation. You replay the moment in your head, rewriting your responses, imagining sharper comebacks, constructing future scenarios where you dominate the exchange. But none of it changes what happened. None of it improves your position. It only strengthens the emotional imprint of the event. Epictetus taught that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The original insult is a single event. The mental replay is self-inflicted. Each repetition deepens the wound instead of allowing it to close. When you allow disrespect to consume your thoughts, you hand over something far more valuable than the moment itself. You hand over your time, your focus, your energy, your emotional state, and often the other person has already moved on. This is the quiet trap. You are fighting a battle that ended while they are living their life uninterrupted. The Stoics understood something crucial. What disturbs you is not the event, but your judgment about it. If someone disrespects you, that reveals something about their character. It does not redefine yours. But when you obsess over it, you begin tying your identity to their behavior. The mind seeks closure. It wants resolution, It wants the perfect line delivered at the perfect moment. But life rarely offers theatrical endings. Strength is not in crafting the comeback you wish you had delivered. Strength is in deciding the moment does not deserve further rent in your mind. Set a boundary internally. Allow yourself a brief period to process the emotion. Acknowledge it. Anger may arise. Hurt may surface. That is natural. Do not suppress it, but do not extend it. After you have felt it, extract the lesson. Was there information about this person you needed to see good? File it away. Was there a boundary you may need to enforce in the future good? Note it. Then, release the emotional charge. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always own your inner citadel. No one enters without your permission. When you replay the disrespect over and over, you are holding the door open. Peace is not passive, it is guarded. Redirect your attention deliberately. Move toward your goals, toward your responsibilities, toward the people who treat you with respect. Energy invested in growth is power reclaimed. Energy invested in resentment is power surrendered. The ultimate victory in conflict is not silencing the other person. It is remaining undisturbed after the encounter ends. When you avoid these 5 mistakes, reacting immediately, trying to change their mind, matching their energy, making it personal, and letting it consume you, you do something rare. You remain sovereign over yourself. Disrespect tests your character. Your response defines it. The goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to leave the situation with your dignity intact and your mind unburdened. Because in the end, your character is revealed not by how others treat you, but by how you choose to carry yourself when they don't.